Good morning. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 begins with these words. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. And my greatest wish for 2021 for all of us is that this year will be a time to build up, time to laugh, a time to dance, a time to love, a time for peace, and a time for building and healing. If you'll join me in prayer. Father God, thank you for this new year, for all of the potential it holds. Help each of us walk forward into 2021 knowing that this can be a time of healing for our community, for our nation, and for the world. Let us unite with a shared vision of being peacemakers and community builders. For those of us who have made it through 2020 with good health, employment, a safe place to live, good food to eat, remind us every day of these great blessings. For we know there are many among us who have suffered greatly this year. And Lord, for those struggling to find employment, I pray that you will reveal opportunities for them to use their gifts and talents to find meaningful work this year. Lord, for our elderly and for people with chronic health conditions, protect them from harm and be their comfort in this time of uncertainty and isolation from loved ones. God, we give you special thanks for those who are here among us in times of crisis, fear, and hurt. Let us never take for granted our first responders and medical workers, those men and women in our own community who wake up each and every day in order to continue the important work they are called to do, providing for our health and well-being, giving endlessly of themselves, looking beyond personal risk for the sake of those who need your help and protection. Lay your loving arms around them and comfort their hearts and their minds when their bodies are tired and they feel broken. Lord, as we take time today to reflect on the state of our city, I ask your blessings on those making decisions that impact the lives and futures of our families and our community. May your truth, wisdom, compassion, and fairness continue to guide the hearts and actions of our leaders. Lord, only you know what the future holds. Please fill each of us with the power of your love so that we are prepared to make a positive difference in this world and bring you honor in all that we do, no matter what the circumstances may be. We ask all of these things in your holy name. Amen.
Good morning. I'm Bill Blackburn, Mayor of Kerrville. Kerrville and Kerr County are resilient. That word literally means to jump, like to jump forward out of difficulty or danger, being able to withstand or recover quickly from tough circumstances. Words associated with resilience are strong, tough, hardy, flexible. 2020 has been a hard year, however you look at it. Being hit with a global pandemic that ended up making thousands sick, hundreds of thousands dead across the country, and businesses struggling to make it. There were shutdowns and mandates that included limited numbers in a business. There have been attempts to shut the door on the coronavirus, but that virus just kept coming. So we have the pandemic, and we are not out of it yet. And we have the economic impact of the pandemic. I have talked to so many owners of local businesses. Yes, some are doing well, but a whole lot are not. And we're talking not only of storefront businesses, but electricians, plumbers, HVAC folks, and more. I and many others have urged people to do business with local businesses. At this point, I can identify some that are barely hanging on. There are others I fear are not, and we may not know until they close their doors, the one that just couldn't make it. But here's where resilience comes in. Kerrville and Kerr County are known for resilience, for jumping back, for springing forward in spite of tough times and maybe crushing circumstances. Think about the trials and tough times of our area. The devastating and sometimes deadly floods, the flu epidemic of 1918, the fires that have consumed so much grassland and everything else in its wake. I remember the grass fire of 1984 that swept across the county. and the 2002 flood that came down Quinlan Creek and hit much of the rest of the town. And I was a part of a group looking for ways to strengthen Kerrville when the oil bust of the late 1980s hit and created a statewide recession. There were some who believed Kerrville would dry up and blow away, but it didn't. Why? Resilience, bouncing back. Here's another reason. I believe Kerrville will bounce back. We are a regional retail center serving over 100,000 people. We are a regional healthcare center serving 9 counties. We are strong in tourism. We are growing in manufacturing capacity with more on the way. We are a recreation destination. The natural beauty of this area is like a magnet. But the big factor, we have good people who keep coming on, welcoming, serving, caring. We will come back from these days of COVID and the economic squeeze, and the vaccine soon available will help close the door on the coronavirus. Let's remember our folks and our businesses that are struggling in these days, and the folks that have lost loved ones or have remained sick after COVID. Let's extend Kerrville kindness and some folding money as our cash puts needed cash in the cash drawer of that business. Finally, I'll leave you with a quote from the American writer E.B. White. Hang on to your hat, hang on to your hope, and wind the clock, for tomorrow is another day. Thank you very much.
Well, hello to all of you, and welcome to our virtual State of the City address. I wish this could be in person because I always enjoy time getting to visit with all of you about your hopes and dreams for our future here in Kerrville. But I'm looking forward to next year, and I think we might even have a chance to reach more people this way by doing it virtually. The theme of my remarks this year will be rebounding in 2021. But before I talk about our future, I want to talk about the resiliency that our mayor just emphasized. The economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has been severely detrimental to our community, and citizens and local businesses have demonstrated incredible resiliency with their compassion, their hope, and their faith. We all know someone who we've lost in this pandemic. Nothing can make up for the tragic and heartbreaking loss of lives that the virus has taken, but we honor the courage and the memory of individuals lost with a steadfast determination to pull together as a community beyond these past several months and into 2021. It's no accident why we are poised for a rebound in 2021. Some of the indicators I will point to in a moment will prove that out, but it is the community that has prepared the way. In the summer of 2018, Kerrville 2050 was adopted as the city's new comprehensive plan after 10 months of unprecedented public engagement. Taking on a life of its own, Kerrville 2050 became known as the 30-year plan that represented your voice, your city, and it still does today. Coming out of this plan have been smaller but important planning efforts like our new long-range water plan, workforce strategic plan, and the first of many area development plans for neighborhoods like the Doyle community. Kerrville 2050 also prioritized important infrastructure improvements that would set the stage for meeting our needs well into the future. Projects like the new Ellenberger well that can produce 750 gallons per minute, the extension of Olympic Drive to serve the west side of town, and the new Legion lift station that opens up an entire third of the city to development, and major street and drainage improvements that have long been overdue. Speaking of indicators, let's first look at unemployment. With 4% unemployment typically considered full employment, Kerr County has historically performed better than Texas and the nation. After a historic low of 2.9% in November 2019, in November of 2020, unemployment for Kerr County was at 5.7%. and is expected to continue to decline as we come out of the pandemic. This is compared to a Texas November 2020 unemployment rate of 8.1% and a U.S. unemployment rate of 6.7%. Let us look at job creation, even in the middle of a pandemic. These are what we call primary jobs, with the majority of their customers outside of our area, thus importing new capital and wages and wealth into our community. Of course, one of the biggest announcements the city has ever seen included 400 new jobs over 20 years due to the expansion of Kildare Mountain Manufacturing into Texas. But we're also seeing expansion in our existing industry with the growth of the Kerrville State Hospital and All Plastics. And of special note, one of our largest employers, James Avery, is now back to pre-COVID employment levels. Shifting now to rebounding on the housing front, it is no secret that Kerrville suffers from a lack of housing stock at several price points. Our recent housing study revealed that this is particularly true when it comes to workforce housing, which we define in the range of up to what a family that earns 80% of area median income can afford. While the Vintage Heights project along Highway 16 South has now been terminated due to financial issues brought on by the pandemic, we have a new partnership with Lennar Homes for a 125-unit single-family workforce housing neighborhood off of the new Olympic Drive extension, which is now in the engineering stage for interior roads and utilities. At the same time, we have hundreds of brand new apartments built or close to being finished in the Landing on Lake Nimitz and on Sendero Ridge on Loop 534. And of course, we continue to see a variety of infill housing being constructed by many of our quality local builders throughout established parts of the city. Finally, Comanche Trace reports that they have seen double the number of homes started and sold this past year. We have also been working hard to improve our development services department to make it easier to do business and build in Kerrville. These improvements include new staffing for planning, inspections, and engineering, as well as new software and technology that supports several process improvements. We've also made it less expensive for local residents and businesses by reducing our tax rate 3 times over the last 4 years and adopting new development regulations that are easier to understand and more flexible. Perhaps the biggest surprise during the pandemic and into 2021 has been the significant growth in retail sales and the quick return of tourism. With the addition of more regional retail like Hobby Lobby, Harbor Freight, and an expanded H-E-B, and changes to how online sales tax is collected, we are seeing record growth in sales tax collections. Our retail sector is benefiting greatly from the return of tourism too. With the public flying less, we are a popular drive-to destination, particularly given our popular outdoor amenities like Kerrville Shriner Park, River Trail, and the Kerrville Sports Complex. In fact, the number of tournament teams coming to Kerrville for multi-day visits from outside of the community was more than 30% greater this past year than the last 2 years, even with a shortened season. Going forward, tourism and retail will no doubt also benefit from the exciting new Arcadia Live venue and the new Heart of the Hills Heritage Center, soon to be moving forward, given very generous donations from H-E-B, the H-E-B Foundation, and others. On a final note, we are also poised for a strong rebound to our very strong fiscal and financial condition as a city. Due to budget cuts and stronger than anticipated revenues in 2020, reserves are greater now than at any other time in our city's history. We have judiciously benefited from CARES Act relief funding available to Texas cities to offset revenue losses and unplanned expenses from the COVID-19. We have taken advantage of historic low interest rates and refinanced debt. We have sustained an excellent AA bond rating due to strong fiscal and budget management, healthy reserves, and a favorable debt portfolio. And we have adopted a conservative, sustainable budget for fiscal year 2021.
In closing, I want to thank you for all of your individual and collective efforts in Kerrville that have shown remarkable resilience and kindness during so many difficult months and now into 2021. I want to thank our mayor and city council members for their support that has led us to this place of rebounding into a bright future. And I want to thank my staff and all city employees who are the finest team I could ever assemble to get the work planned and executed well, even under the most challenging circumstances. I want to wish you a prosperous and joyous new year. Thank you, and God bless Kerrville.